Hello and welcome. What's up, guys? This is the Stanley Parable. It's out. It's finally out. I've been following this game. Oh, wow. Computerception right here. Just realised that. This is the day of the release. I bought it. It literally just came out on Steam 1 hour and about 15 minutes ago. Not counting seconds. Literally, like, it's within the minute. 1 hour and 15 minutes ago. And it's just done installing. I've set up a makeshift setup because I didn't have time because I was just so excited for this. But, you know, it's finally here and this is just so awesome. Oh, lag spike. So, yeah, before I start, I just want to set something straight. The developers have been very secretive about everything that's in the game because they don't want to spoil the story, they don't want to spoil the experience, they don't want to spoil anything. It's very hard to explain the game without spoiling it, but they've gone through such a trouble, and I don't quite know because I haven't played yet, but I understand why they may feel that way. So, I would advise you, if you haven't played the Stanley Parable for yourself, then go check out the demo. The link for my Let's Play of the demo should appear on the screen now. So yeah, just go click that. Especially if you haven't even seen this, because from what I could tell from the trailer that just released, they seem to hint, like reference a lot from the demo. You would never get the demo and then like think, oh, that might be connected somehow. You don't really suspect that, but in the game they reference the demo and you go, I remember that, and already I can tell that's gonna happen. But yeah, if you haven't bought this game, then you know I wouldn't advise you to watch this because the developers themselves have said, please don't like watch any Let's Plays or anything. But yeah, if you're not gonna buy it maybe, or like you've already played it and you just wanted to watch me play this, then yes, that makes you like qualified. I'm gonna change a few options and then I'll be right back.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Well, okay, that was a long cutscene, and wow, okay, I just realised something. In the demo, the very end of the demo, this is where you get out of the elevator.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Nope. People definitely aren't here. Okay, it looks like, before I move on, it looks like that I'm going to get interrupted by that voice quite a bit, and I do apologise if I cut out, but I'll try my best not to go over that guy's lovely voice. So, yeah. So, not much speaking from my end. Alright. Yep, let's move on. What's around here? So, this Stanley guy has a really interesting job. I'd love to do his job actually. It's very simple. I wonder how much he gets paid for it. Because it's just pushing buttons that you're told to. More work is probably put into like typing how many buttons to push, what buttons push, you know, how long to push them for. The clock works. Yeah, no, but more. It seems like more work would be put in to make those instructions than to actually push them themselves. Yeah, according to my friend, not sure if he wants me to mention his name, but according to him, these clocks actually do work. He was in the demo and he left his computer on for about half an hour just staring at the clock. Or maybe he was just staring at the clock and he didn't want me to think that he was doing a lot of stuff weirdly. But apparently, yes, this clock does work and it's to correct time as well. It may not be to correct time as in like it's 11 o'clock is 11 o'clock, but it works that every second is a second, every hour is an hour long.
Stanley stood for a long time in one spot. It's part of a game. He likes to see how long he can go without dying. So far, he's doing excellent. And if he just stays right where he is, I'm sure he'll keep up that good momentum. Let's observe the genius at work.
Alright, this is what I love about the Stanley Parable, is that, like, even stuff that you do randomly will, like, make him talk. It's apparently also in the demo, same friend again, if you press in the 8 game, if you press the button 888 times, he gets really angry at you. And if you press it 1,000 times, the button breaks. Yeah. It's so ridiculous. Your reaction is probably the exact same as mine when you hear he did that. Yeah. I'm really sort of confused as to when to start sentences, so I don't really want to move forward unless he's going to start talking and I'm going to get cut off. I think I recognize this from one of the trailers as well. He's just walking in a corridor and it's just playing corridor and then it keeps going, but it's just in like 2 corridors 90 degrees to each other, and then he comes to here. Wow, there's so many references to all the trailers and demo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alright then. So, the game seems to tell you a lot. I wonder what happens if you go right. The door closes behind you and everything. There's usually something weird. I do feel like I've seen this before somewhere. Or I might have even played it, but I can't quite put my finger on it if it was the Stanley Parable. I think I just watched a bit of it. But yeah.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
I love these slides. To do. Synergize core value expenditures, shift global market, parad, monetize free to play. Monetize free to... Alright. There's so many Easter eggs probably in here. I don't want to spoil it all, maybe. Alright. Broom closet. Oh, wow. Clicking that actually did make it open up.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Okay.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
I'm not sure if the narrator is on my side or not, so I don't know whether to follow what he says or to go against it. You know what, I'm going to see what happens if I just go downstairs. Because I followed his instructions last time with the doors. Alright, nothing so far. He hasn't said anything, so I can carry on. There's probably a lot of endings.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Is that it? Wow. Okay. So that was the Stanley Parable, I guess, or at least part of it. Very interesting. It seems like there's a lot of endings. There are also a lot of beginnings, as it turns out. Alright, well, I think that's just one episode. Next episode will come out whenever. I'm not sure if this is going to be different this time round, or like if it's going to be like the same but you can make different choices, but we'll find out in the next episode. I don't know why I'm sort of moving my mouse to express everything, including when the narrator was saying my thoughts. Yeah. Sorry if you could hear me laughing. I'm not sure if I edited that out or nothing, but I was laughing at a lot of that stuff in that sort of cutscene or whatever that was. Yeah, that's the Stanley Parable. Already I'm in love with this game, and I knew that it's definitely living up to my standards. However, it did seem like it went on for a fairly short amount of time, but I don't know if this is the end. So anyway, that's all from me, guys. See you next time. Bye.